Men, we conquered continents, built civilizations and walked on the moon, and yet we still can't talk about our feelings. This is Pipeside Chats with Charles Jota Fenix. Hello and welcome to another episode of Pipeside Chats. I'm Charles Jota Fenix and today it's the World Cup special. I'm here with my Panini sticker book, unashamed, masculine energy here. Love these sort of things, you know, just collecting and just feeling happy just to see all the different teams. Obviously, so many things going on in this World Cup. A lot of controversies over where it is, a lot of controversies surrounding the war, and even controversies about how many teams are now actually in the World Cup as opposed to the previous editions. Now, I'm going to take part in that hyper-masculine, that super manly of traditions in which I try and predict the entire tournament. And you all laugh at me because I know not very much about football, even though I watch it regularly. And you'll see, unfortunately, yes, I am a Hull City fan, although it's been a good season for us. Us? It's a weird phrase, isn't it, to say us? It's been a good season for Hull City. But yeah, let's get on with predictions, and please let me know if you agree or disagree with me in the chat, in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video and want to see more content. Now, I understand that this comes as a sort of... weird little episode where it's just fun. You know, I want us to see as men that we can still have fun and we can still give each other a little ribbon and we can be excited for things. The World Cup is one of my two favorite sporting events. The Olympics and the World Cup I absolutely love. There is something masculine about seeing sports, about being involved in sports. I love it and I hope that you're excited for it too. So let's kick off with Group A. And I've got this written down because I don't want to do it off the top of my head. So Group A, we've got South Korea, Mexico, Czechia, South Africa. All decent teams, historically, although South Africa and Qatar are the only two host nations not to qualify from the group stages in their own World Cups, respectively in 2010 and 2022. I think Qatar were the only host nation not to get any points, but we'll see what happens this time. Obviously slightly different because we now have three host nations rather than solely one. I don't remember the last time that happened. Was it? There's never been three, I don't think. You can correct me if I'm wrong. There's been two, South Korea and Japan. And I know Germany and Poland in the Euros, but I think there's never been three host nations, which is unprecedented territory, I guess. So yeah, Group A. Now, I think most people will probably agree when I say Mexico are the strongest of those teams, at least from what I've seen in the past couple of years, and particularly in the last few months as they prepare for the tournament. So I have Mexico. This is my standings. You can see them here. So I've got Mexico, South Korea, Czechia, and South Africa. Sorry, Bafana. That's the one team of that group that I see being weaker than everyone else. Czechia coming through the playoff routes against some decent teams as well. And South Korea, always a team that surprised me at the World Cups. They always are a team where when I'm thinking, well, actually, they're in a tough group, they always seem to pull something off with it. So that's my Group A prediction right there. I'd be surprised if anybody didn't think Mexico were the strongest team for any reason, but let me know in the comments, because my knowledge of football is much lesser than other people's, I'm 100% sure. Then we've got Group B, a group that I think is very interesting. Switzerland, Canada, Bosnia, and Qatar. For me, there's one standout there, which is that I just think Qatar will finish dead bottom with 0 points. They struggle, Qatar over the past couple of years has supposed to have become a force in Asian football. But yeah, against these other teams, I just don't see it. I think that so Qatar are the standout. They're probably going to finish bottom with 0 points. I think Switzerland are most likely to finish first in that, but I can't write Bosnia off either, because, they came through against the Italians, although one could argue Italy haven't been particularly great, particularly in qualification over the last few editions. But here's what I've gone for. I've gone for Switzerland, Canada, Bosnia, and then Qatar. The reason I've gone for Canada in second above Bosnia, which sort of contradicts what I've just been saying, is that I think the conditions will suit them better. They're at home. They've got something to prove. They don't want to become one of those host nations that don't qualify from the groups. I think they might just edge it. Now, it might be one of those things where it's 4 points and 4 points and the goal difference makes it. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Switzerland, Canada, Bosnia. Sorry, Qatar. Now, Group C. Group C was one that took me a little bit of time to actually think about and predict. So I'll just put up my scores, because I don't want to spend ages on this particular video anyway, because I want to hear your things, and you don't want me to waffle on about everything. You just want to know my predictions. I know most of you are just going skip. So yeah. So here's my prediction: Brazil, Morocco, Scotland, and Haiti. I do think, unfortunately, Haiti will become a punching bag in that particular group. I did originally have Scotland second. I originally switched Scotland and Morocco, and I had Scotland in second and Morocco in third. But the main reason I've decided to put Scotland in third is that I really do think Steve Clarke has made a massive mistake in not calling up Ollie McBurney. And okay, bias, whatever. If you want to say it's a bias thing, fine. But has he not scored more goals than any other Scottish forward in leagues this year? Am I mistaken here, or is that not how it is? And particularly in a team that was predicted to be relegated and got promoted to the Premier League, bewilders me a little bit why Steve Clarke would not think that that's a smart move. But whatever, I'm not a football professional. I wish Ollie McBurney the best in his future. Hopefully he'll get called up later on. Yeah, so that's my prediction there. Group D for me is the group of death, not because there are so many strong teams in it, but because those teams are so closely ranked together, it's almost impossible to predict. I love Australia. I think Australia are an unbelievable team. They put up a massive fight against, was it Argentina in 2022? They've put up fights against France before. They're a good team. I like watching Australia. They're passionate, they're fun, they're interesting. But this group could come back to bite me in the ass 100%. I'd be shocked if it didn't. Here's what I'm putting: USA, Turkey, Australia, Paraguay. Correct me if I'm wrong in this. Do you think something else? I know a lot of people I've spoken to are saying Turkey as the top team. USA have home advantage. That's it sings to me a little bit that I think they've probably feeling like they've got something. They are probably feeling like they've got something to prove, I would imagine. So USA, Turkey, Australia, Paraguay. I do think Australia will get through as a third place team, but I'll go through that later. Group E, Germany, Ecuador, Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, Curacao. I hope Curacao can do better, but there's something in the fact that it is an overseas Dutch territory, so perhaps something could happen there. But Germany and Ecuador, and I think Ecuador had a particularly strong qualification process. Yeah, I can't see past that. Cote d'Ivoire, I don't know enough. African football's probably the one I know least about of the confederations. I'd say I probably know more about CONCACAF and UEFA, and I lived in Asia, in the Middle East, so I know a little bit about AFC as well. Yeah. Group F, I think this could be a great group. I think this also could bite me in the ass, but I've gone for Japan, Netherlands, Sweden, and Tunisia. Again, Tunisia just feel like a punching bag in that group. However, does Sweden even deserve to be there? I don't know. They feel they qualified on the Nations League status, basically. So, who knows? I think Japan might just edge it. They've been quite impressive recently. That 1-0 win over England as well. They have been quite good. And they always brings... they're a very fast team, Japan. I think they remind me of a sort of high-level championship team. Although you're probably laughing at me and saying I know nothing, which, fine. I'm not a fantastic, font of football knowledge. I just want to have some fun and be a bit of a guy. Just guess. So yeah, that's what I've gone for there. Group G, this is the one you're all going to tell me I'm wrong on. I'm 100% sure. I've gone for Belgium, New Zealand, Egypt, and Iran. You're all going to laugh at me for putting Iran bottom, but I do think there are going to be some mind games going on here. And I do think that things might happen, potentially like American fans camping outside Iranian team hotels with fireworks and horns and trying to keep the team awake and stuff like that. I can see that happening, as gross as that sounds and as silly as that sounds, but yeah, I can see Iran really, really struggling in this. Again, Egypt, I'm not a CAF expert. I just don't think they've got enough firepower. And I think New Zealand could be the underdogs of that group. And I think if they come out strong, particularly with Chris Wood, who I believe had a particularly good season, they could come out quite well. Yeah. I'm not talking about winning the tournament, of course, but they might have a good group stage. So Group H, unsurprisingly, I lived in Spain 2 years. I've seen Spain go from the top to the bottom and then back up again. Married to a Spanish woman. I've got Spanish family. I've got connections to Spain, although I'm English by birth. And I do sympathise with Scotland as well. I just think Spain are a very strong team. So, Spain, Uruguay, Cabo Verde, then Saudi Arabia. I do think Cabo Verde have been quite, or Cape Verde for some people, you might say it slightly differently. I do think they've been quite impressive. That's the one team from the CAF Confederation that I actually know a little bit about. No, I couldn't name players, except for the ones I've got in my sticker book. I couldn't, although I think, yeah, Cape Verde's empty. Yeah, I just think they've looked strong in qualifying, so could they annoy Saudi Arabia? Possibly, yeah. I think so. But I do think Spain in that group, I don't want to say they should walk it, but they should be jogging, realistically. Then Group I, which is another strange one. Those are my predictions. France, Senegal, Norway, Iraq. I'm English. I don't want to put France at the top, but they're a good team. They deserve the plaudits. And that's just gentle masculine ribbing, by the way. I actually love France. The food's phenomenal. The language is quite nice. Disneyland Paris is cool. Paris itself isn't as crappy as people say it is. It's overpriced, as is London, but I enjoyed it. Yeah, I've enjoyed every time I've been to France. So, yeah. France, Senegal, Norway, Iraq. Iraq are going to be the punching bags. Nothing else I can say about that. Senegal and Norway could switch. Erling Haaland, fantastic player, but Senegal, from what I've seen, are very fast, very counter-attacky. They're very choppy, and I think that could cause problems for teams. Now, Group J. Is this the one where you're going to nail me to the cross? Is this the one where you're going to crucify my predictions? I am a very firm believer in the World Cup curse. And I think it will affect Argentina. I don't care if it's Messi's last tournament. I think that pressures from being winners will come onto them this time. So I've actually gone for... Now, I don't think it will mean they drop out of the group stages, especially because there's so many third-place teams qualifying. That acts as a sort of buffer. But I've gone Austria, Argentina, Jordan, and Algeria. Jordan, very impressive in qualifying, getting to the final of the AFC Cup as well, the Asian Cup. Yeah, that's what I'm going for that group. Group K, I've gone Portugal, Colombia, Uzbekistan, and DR Congo. I don't really think I need to spend too much time on that. I mean, Portugal are a good team. Uzbekistan, I think, have been quite surprising. They qualified directly. Colombia, a good South American team. You can never write them off. Yeah, I don't need to say much about that group. Group L, the group with England, and we all know that England usually do decently in groups, except for 2010. England, Croatia, Panama, Ghana. Panama have been a strong team recently. I think they did come out with some really strong wins not that long ago against a couple of African sides. Did they not beat the USA in the previous edition of the Gold Cup? So Panama could throw some spanners in the works. I think looking at it on paper, England are most likely the strongest team there. That being said, they were the strongest team in 2018 and Croatia beat them in a semi-final. It's tough, but I do think England will top the group, followed probably by Croatia or Panama. Ghana seem to have just collapsed. I've got a couple of Ghanaian friends. They're not happy with the team. They're not happy with the manager. They're not happy with the players. They don't expect a lot from them. They're just happy to have qualified, to be honest. But again, I could be right. I probably will be wrong, and that is absolutely fine. Come at me in the comments, bro. Catch me outside and all that. So what that would mean then, looking at it like this, would be a round of 32 that would kick off with Germany versus Scotland. As much as I would love Scotland to win, you've not taken Ollie McBurney with you. You're not getting past the round of 32. Steve Clarke, I'm afraid that's on you. So then it would be France versus Australia. Now, Australia could 100% give France an absolute nightmare. But they probably won't. Because I do think that France want to prove something after not winning the previous edition. So, France going through against Australia. Korea versus Canada. Now, I do think Canada could surprise people here. If Canada can get through the group stages and have a semi-favourable draw, because I'd say of all the teams that qualify, perhaps Korea, Uzbekistan are the ones you want to be drawn against. I think Canada could actually edge out Korea. Maybe on penalties, maybe a dodgy goal. I don't know. but I think they could edge them out. Japan versus Morocco, that would probably be the game of the round of 32, but I'm just edging towards Morocco. They've been really strong. I'm just edging towards Morocco. Colombia versus Croatia. Oh, again, another game that might be a bit difficult to predict. I've just gone with Colombia. I just think they've got that slight extra edge. South American teams, unpredictable. They can be incredible, they can be terrible. It depends, but I'm just going to say Colombia for that game. Spain versus Argentina. Now, I predicted Argentina would have a poor group stage, but they would still qualify. And I think this works in Spain's favour. Because if Spain can get rid of an early contender, of a serious contender very early, then I think Spain have a much clearer path moving forward. I'm not trying to be biased either, but I do think Spain are probably most people's favourites. I'd say probably Spain, France, maybe England would come in third. But yeah, I do think Spain will knock out Argentina. Then you've got USA versus Bosnia, which will be a cracking game, but home advantage, USA. I think USA will edge that one. Might be similar to the Canada game that I was discussing. I think maybe penalties, last minute goal, or very, very early goal, and then the USA dig in. Could be a similar sort of situation. Belgium versus Czechia. I know Belgium are not the team they used to be, but they still have some good players, and I do back Belgium to beat Czechia on most given days. So Belgium to go through. Brazil versus the Netherlands would be an absolutely wonderful game, particularly so early on, but we're going to lose so many good teams because of the way the tournament works this time. Brazil, I think, again, South American team. I know they've not been the best in qualifying, but I think they'll just edge out the Netherlands, I think they'll just edge them out. Ecuador versus Norway. I think we'll probably go to Norway. They've just got a lot of firepower, particularly with Erling Haaland. And I think, if I'm correct, they scored the most goals in qualifying, and I have a feeling they were one of the teams that conceded the least. So that's a good tournament team. You can't overlook that. That is a good tournament team. But I could just be bullshitting as a man. So who knows? Mexico versus Senegal. Senegal are a good team, but I think home advantage is going to play really well for Mexico. So I'm going to go with Mexico. England versus Uzbekistan. Probably the game England would want out of any of the other teams there. I'd say they probably want to get drawn against Uzbekistan. So England. I think on paper, you've got to give it to England. Could they get knocked out in the round of 32 because that's what England do? 100%. Would I be surprised if it happened? No, not at all. But equally, I wouldn't be surprised if they got to the final either. I'd be a little surprised if they won. But if they had a long, deep run, I wouldn't be that surprised. Then we've got Austria versus Uruguay. Austria, me predicting having topped the group. Coming up against Uruguay, finishing just below Spain. Again, it's one of those weird ones because I'm predicting a team to do well, but then I'm now saying they're going to get knocked out by Uruguay, who finished below Spain. A bit of a weird one, but it's that South American. So, Turkey versus New Zealand. As much as I love New Zealand, and I would absolutely love for them to go far, I just don't see them beating Turkey. Turkey are acclimatized to the heat. They're quite a physical side, and they are the weird dark horses that everyone bets on during Euros and World Cups when they qualify. So, Turkey. Sorry, New Zealand. But please prove me wrong if you can. Please prove me wrong. Switzerland versus Egypt. Now, I've said I'm not particularly adept with my CAF knowledge. I've gone for Switzerland. I don't think Egypt have the firepower to overcome a Switzerland side that are quite defensively sound. Portugal versus Panama, I'd say Portugal will see that as a positive draw. I'd say that Portugal are probably going to take that very favorably and quite easily win that. So moving on to the round of 16, where we have Germany versus France. So Germany versus France. Now, I've said that France are one of the favourites and the front runners, but I think Germany might surprise everyone here. And I know you're all going to come for me in the comments, I know. But I think Germany since 2014 have not done very well and have quite a lot to prove. So I'm going to go Germany. Canada versus Morocco. Canada versus Morocco. I'd love to say that Canada could beat Morocco. Morocco have been very strong recently. The only African team to reach a semi-finals of a World Cup. I'm sorry, Canada, it's going to Morocco. Colombia versus España. Very soundly España. Very soundly Spain. USA versus Belgium will be a grudge match of the 2014 round of 16, was it? When Tim Howard made the most saves of any goalkeeper in World Cup history in one match. 14 saves, I believe. I actually think it's going to go to the USA. Host nation, grudge match, want to prove something, want to send a statement to the world to say, don't just look at our president, look at our team. Yeah, I think they're going to do quite well. So USA versus Belgium, USA. Brazil versus Norway will be an absolute cracker of a match. I can see Norway really, really frustrating Brazil, but I do think Brazil will still get the win. Okay, Mexico versus England. Oh, I think typical England fashion, they are going to get it done just. I think it will be one of those things where England just get a very vague, can't have a vague goal, can you? Just get a very lucky or early goal or a moment of absolute magic from a player and they'll edge it. And then I've got Uruguay versus Turkey, which I can see that having loads of goals in it. And I actually do think Turkey will just about edge out Uruguay to go through to the quarterfinals. Let's do the quarterfinals now. So Germany versus Morocco. A lot of you are going to be sitting at home saying Morocco will win that one. I can see why. But Germany have got Germany have got something to prove. They will edge out Morocco, in my prediction. Then we've got Spain versus the USA, and I'd say Spain will probably really relish that one. I can't see the USA getting past a Spain side that's as strong as it is right now. So we're going to say Spain to beat the USA. Then we've got Brazil versus England, which is a classic rematch of the 2002 quarterfinals. Might have been the round of 16. David Beckham free kick, and then Brazil went. It's going to be a very similar situation. Brazil knocking out England in the quarterfinals. Turkey versus Portugal. Great game, very fast, but Portugal will take the win. So then we've got semi-finals of Germany versus Spain, which, as strong as Germany want to be, they won't beat this Spain side. I think Spain will go through to the final with a fairly comfortable win. Not 3-0, 4-0, anything like that, but 2-0, 3-1, something like that, I think. And Brazil versus Portugal, which is an all Portuguese-speaking rivalry game. Both teams used to the heat. Both teams, because in the US in the summer, let's face it, it's going to be a bit of a scorcher in most cities. Most host cities, sorry. And I think Brazil will just about edge that game. That brings us to the final. It's Brazil versus España. What a game that will be. What a game. Okay, that's how I've predicted it. The run could be very different. I could be very, very wrong. I most likely will be very, very wrong. But, unsurprisingly, given my bias, I don't think you're going to be surprised that I will say Spain will win the tournament. So I have my prediction as Spain as the winner of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Am I going to be wrong? Most likely. Do I care? Not at all. Have I had a fantastic time doing this for you? Yes. And I really hope that you battle me in the comments. Tell me your predictions. Who's going to win? Who's going to be the dark horse? Who's going to be the absolute failure of the tournament? Say England if you want, because I know it's likely. Are Scotland going to surprise people? Am I wrong about Steve Clarke's decision not to include Ollie McBurney? Am I just a crazy guy with a podcast, out of his depth, doing the typical masculine thing of trying to predict an unpredictable event? Yes, I am. You've been listening or watching Pipeside Chats. I'm Jota Fenix, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Men, we conquered continents, built civilizations, and walked on the moon. And yet, we still can't talk about our feelings. This is Pipeside Chats with Jota Fenix.